Hey kindergartners, this week in garden, what we're going to be working on is this worksheet, the alphabet garden. And so what we're going to do is we are going to get out our garden kits and we are going to take a look at different letters that are in our garden kits. And we're going to think of different things in the garden that start with that letter and then write them here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And then at the end, what we're going to do is we are going to read Mrs. Pinocchle's bug alphabet and go over some of the fun bugs and the different names that they have and facts. So you can see they've got bright illustrations and it goes through each letter of the alphabet. Okay, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first sheet. All right, I will put it on the document camera so you can see better. What you're going to do is you're going to get out your garden kit. Okay, and in your garden kit, you have these foam letters that we've kind of looked at before. I have an R in mine. I have an, oops, it's upside down, an E, okay, and then I have a tricky one. I have an X, okay, or if it goes this way, maybe it's a T. So you're going to get out your letter. If you don't have them, you're just going to think about a letter. So think about whatever letter you want. Maybe it's the letter that your name starts with, okay, maybe it's a letter that your little brother or sister's name starts with. Maybe it's a letter that's special to you, that you like the shape. Okay, but you're going to think of a letter if you don't have your foam letters, and we're going to write it in our alphabet garden sheet. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today for our lesson, we are going to be talking about our alphabet garden. So you're going to go ahead and get this sheet out. And we're going to start using our brains to think about things in the garden that start with different letters. All right? All right, kindergartners. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out our letters. Again, if you don't have them, not a big deal. You're just going to use your noggin and think of a letter. Any letter that's special to you, any letter that you want to use. All right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my letter R. So I'm going to put it in my circle here. Again, if you don't have it, you're just going to write a letter in here. Okay, and I'm going to think of something that starts with the letter R in the garden. So let's sit and think. It could be something that is a tool that you use. It could be something that is an animal in the garden. It could be something that you eat. It could be a flower. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I've thought of radish. Okay. So a radish, which is kind of like, it's something that grows underground. They can be pink, they can be white. There's things called Easter egg radishes, which is what we grow in the school garden. And they can be all sorts of different colors. Okay, but I'll kind of color it a little bit. And then this part lives underground. And then it's got some green leaves that poke out above ground. And they're kind of like wobbly like this. Okay, so that's my radish. So I thought of one thing that starts with an R, and that is a radish. So let's think of something else in our garden that starts with an R. You know, in my garden here at home, I actually have a plant, and it grows these beautiful flowers, and they have thorns on them. Does anybody think of a flower that starts with the letter R and has thorns on it? A rose. Roses have, that's interesting, have thorns, and they can have all these little petals. Okay, and so they can, and there are tons of different types of roses. I'll kind of do it this way, so it's got a little bit. Okay, and then they have kind of a dark little middle to it. So we'll kind of do this. There we go. And then I'm going to do my little thorny branch, thorny stem. So here we go. So it's got some thorns, and then it's got some leaves too, right? That way you know that it's not leaves, but little thorns that I'm doing. Okay, and then if you want, you can also write the name of that plant. that you just drew. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put rose. R-O-S-E, rose. Okay, perfect. So now I've got a radish. I've got something that you eat from the garden, right? I've got something that a flower that grows in the garden, which is a rose. I can think of another type of flower, which there are a lot in Seattle. It's called the rhododendron. That's a type of flower too. But let's see if I can think of something else. Oh, and you know what? I should write the word radish over here by this. So radish is spelled R-A-D-I-S-H, radish. So radish, we've got rose. Oh, you know, a tool in the garden that starts with the letter R that we use for leaves sometimes. So when the leaves fall and we need to collect all the leaves, can anybody think of something, a tool that starts with the letter R? Oh, it's a rake. So rakes kind of have all these little prongs to them, right? And then it has a nice big handle, and you rake up all those leaves. Okay, so we're going to write the word rake over there. Let's see, I'll get a different color here so it sticks out a little bit. So I'm going to move it this way. R-A-K-E is rake. Nice job. All right, so now I've got 3 things. Let's see, can I think of an animal that starts with an R? Oh, I can think of one that I really like to see. And it looks like this. It's gray. And it's got all these little bits to it. It's got kind of 2 antennae right here, and then it's got all these little legs. And then it can end up in this little ball too. Can anybody tell me what they think this is? Starts with an R. Normally you find them like under logs. And they roll up in a little ball. It's a roly-poly. Okay, so those are a good one too, roly-poly. And if you have never seen a roly-poly, okay, they are an awesome little bug that they usually like to live under logs or rocks out in the garden. And you can hold them in your hand and they'll roll up into this little teeny ball. Okay, they're a really cool little garden insect. And then there's one more. There's one more we can draw that starts with an R. And this is an animal that, you know what, they're in my yard right now. I don't have them as pets. Some people keep them as pets, but I have some wild little ones. They start with an R, and they like to eat the grass and the clover. They really like to eat my sunflower starts, okay? And so it starts with an R or a B. If you've read the tale of Peter Rabbit, yeah, rabbits, right? So I'm going to do just a rabbit face. They've got these little whiskers. They've got those big ears. Okay, a rabbit. Rabbits, they often will be in the garden, right? Just like Mr. McGregor's garden with Peter Rabbit. Maybe I'll make his mouth a little pink. Okay, so rabbit. We spell rabbit. R-A-B-B-I-T. Rabbit. All right, so we've done a ton of things in the garden that start with the letter R. So let's think. And again, you can write the word, you can draw the picture, okay? You can just choose the letter, right? So if you don't have your letters, you're just going to choose the letter R and then think about things that start with that letter. Let's see if we can do another one. Let's see if we can do, let's just think about the letter, let's do the letter H. H, some things in the garden that start with H might be hose, right? Oh, look, here's a hose right here. And sometimes it's easier to look at kind of pictures and think, gosh, let's think of some different things. Dirt starts with the letter D. Wheelbarrow starts with the letter W. You can do zucchini, starts with the letter Z. All right, there's all sorts of things that are in the garden that start with different letters. All right, so now for the second part of our lesson, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we are going to read Mrs. Pinocchle's bug alphabet next. All right, kindergartners, so now that we have gone ahead and done our alphabet garden, we are going to get to read Mrs. Pinocchle's bug alphabet. So this book takes us through the alphabet and names a bug for every letter. All right, this is one of my favorite books. I think we've read Mrs. Pinocchle's vegetable alphabet before when we've talked a little bit about veggies in the garden. We've read this one. So they make a couple different ones. So we've done vegetables before. Today we're going to do the bug alphabet because there are all sorts of little critters that like to live in our gardens. And it's so much fun to learn cool facts about them. All right. A is for ants. Ants are super strong and can live up to 30 years. Wow. B is for bumblebee. Buzzing from flower to flower, they spread pollen that helps flowers grow. C comes after B. So C is for cricket. Crickets are Mrs. Pinocchle's favorite because their night song means it's summertime. So you guys can see if you can start hearing some crickets once it gets warmer. D is for dragonfly, whose head is one big eye, all the better for finding and eating mosquitoes. Chomp. E is for elephant hawk moth, which is a lovely shade of pink and lives in England. That is a really pretty shade of pink. F is for firefly. Their blinking bodies light the summer night sky like stars. What letter comes after F? G. G is for grasshopper, who can jump over 3 feet at a time. Some people eat them. Would you eat a grasshopper? H is for housefly. Houseflies carry a lot of germs. So Mrs. Pinochle says, keep them off your food. That's probably a good idea. I is for inchworm. Not really a worm, but a caterpillar. They turn into moths when they grow up. So just like a butterfly, right? J is for June bug. Born underground, they come out in June when frogs love to eat them for a summer snack. Munch, munch, munch. But what letter comes after J? Who can tell me? K. K is for katydid, which looks like a leaf. Some people call them bush crickets. L, this is one of Miss Alden's favorite insects. L is for ladybug. The loveliest of insects. They help Mrs. Pinochle by eating the bugs on her roses. And ladybugs are a type of beetle. M is for monarch butterfly. Its children, little caterpillars, only eat milkweed. Can you believe the monarch can fly from Maine, which is a state in the United States, to Mexico? They have a really cool migration. And migration starts with M too. N is for nymph, a name for some baby insects. Some people believe in nature spirits, also called nymphs. So remember in our praying mantises that we've hatched, the baby mantises are called nymphs. All right. O is for orange sulfur butterfly. They can be orange or yellow and love to feed in fields of clover. Oh, look at how pretty. Oh, P is for praying mantis. It looks like it's praying, but it's not. They are so big, they can eat a frog. The ones we raise won't eat frogs, but some of them get really big. Q is for queen bee, who's in charge of laying eggs for the whole hive of bees. She's the hive mom, and for that, she gets to eat royal jelly. R is for rhinoceros beetle. the strongest insect of them all. It can lift 850 times its own weight. Wow, that's really impressive. S is for stink bug. I have some of these inside sometimes my house. They love to travel and release a stinky smell to avoid being eaten. T is for termite, who've lived on Earth for 250 million years. They build giant mounds that tourists sometimes visit. U is for underwing moth. With their wings closed, they look just like a tree bark, and with their wings open, they're an orange delight. It's not pretty, so underneath is this bright orange. V is for vine borer, who love to eat squash. When these little pests invade, Mrs. Pinochle plants melon instead. So sometimes different vegetables can attract different types of insects. And so it's always interesting to see what exactly is going to come with different vegetables. W is for wasp. They may seem mean, but they eat bugs that harm plants and build their own paper homes. X is for Xerces, who is now extinct. We can protect other insects and animals by protecting nature. Y is for yellow mealworm, a yummy treat for lizards and birds. Some humans eat them too, but not Mrs. Pinochle. And Z is for Zoopteran, which is a tiny and clear. If you see one, say hi. After all, bugs are our friends. All right, so that was our bug alphabet. So if you weren't able to think of a bug or an insect that started with the letter that you chose for your garden, you can go ahead and you can write that in. Remember, just like my letter R here, right? In my bug alphabet, the R, let's see, what was R? Oh, the R was the rhinoceros beetle. So I could add that to my sheet now if I wanted to. So in your sheet, you can go ahead and add in something. If it was in this book and you didn't think of it, you can add it in now. Okay? Perfect. All right, you guys, that's it for the garden lesson this week. I will see you next time, okay? Remember, Mrs. Pinochle's bug alphabet, always a good read. Mrs. Pinocle's vegetable alphabet, another fun one to do some alphabet letters with, okay? And as you're out and about, think about all the cool things that you see in the different letters that they start with and see if you can group them. All right, bye, you guys.